I'm going to share 20 ways to save more money regardless of your income. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. And if you are new and haven't already, make sure you guys click that red subscribe button down below to join my YouTube family. In today's economy, the cost of living has gone up drastically. I personally live in Toronto, Canada, and Toronto has become one of the most expensive places to live in the world. It's becoming a lot more crucial that you are more frugal with your money and you save. Of course, if you're making more money, you have more opportunity to save a little bit more, but it matters what you do with the money that you're making. Even if you have a lower income, if you are being smart with your money and saving, you can go a long way. Trust me. If you guys ever want to talk to me more, I have my socials always linked down below, so feel free to give a follow. But on that note, let's get into it. First things first, write down all of your expenses. It's important to know where your money is going into, and I feel like a lot of the times we don't realize how much money we're spending in certain categories. So something I like to do is take my monthly income, put it on a piece of paper, and see what my typical bills are for the month. Lay that all out and see how much leftover I have. If I'm spending too much money on food, on clothing, on activities, on trips, stuff like that, it's important to track where your money's going into. This is going to allow you to be able to cut back in certain categories. And then you could start to set a monthly budget depending on your monthly income. And this is going to be the key reason as to how you're going to save money every single month. Tip number 2 is to carry cash. Everything is just so fast and digital, and a lot of people really don't have cash ever on them, and they always just use credit cards. When you swipe your credit card, you're more likely to make those irrash decisions for purchases or mindless purchases, and it adds up and it can get you into credit card debt, which is something that we want to try to avoid. You're more likely to spend less money, and I think it's because you actually see how much money you have and you're giving it away. As opposed to a credit card, you don't see that money, and I just find it easier to just swipe my card and you kind of don't realize how much money you're spending and how much money is adding up. And a little tip is try carrying larger bills, a $50 bill or $100, because research also shows that you're less likely to want to split that bill, so you're less likely to make those purchases. Sometimes you'll just be like, nah, it's not worth it. Of course, you don't want to carry like tons of cash on you constantly. I usually carry a set amount for the day, and I find that works best for me. Or if I know I'm going to somewhere where I'm going to spend a little bit of money, I always like to have cash on me so that I know that I don't want to go over this amount of cash. It really helps with not overspending. And that brings me to tip number 3, which is to wait until the end of the month to make larger purchases. All sales reps have a quota to meet per month, and a lot of the times by the end of the month, if they didn't meet that requirement, you're more likely to get a bigger discount because that sales rep wants to reach their certain quota, and if they didn't already, they kind of just want that sale. So this is really great for, especially if you're purchasing a car. It's better to go near the end of the month because of this reason. And of course, it doesn't work all the time, but this is just a little tip to keep in mind if you do have to make a larger purchase in your life. Tip number 4 is to start a money jar. Every single time that I come home or by the end of the week, I like to empty my pockets and my purses of all the excess change and just put it in there, and over time that's really going to add up, and you can put that away to your savings. Tip number 5 is simple, but it's just regularly telling yourself no. Simply passing on things that are in the checkout line. I find stores do this a lot because they know that they can entice people to purchase something. If they're standing in a line and the lineup's long, you're more likely to look around the checkout line. So they really try to get you there. So it's important to really tell yourself no, that you don't need it before you go and make these impulse purchases. And that leads me to tip number 6, which is try to have no spend days. This can actually be a little bit more difficult than you think, especially if you're just trying to learn how to save now. You may not realize how much you spend in a day and how much things add up. So try having days where you don't spend any money at all. So you don't get that coffee in the morning, or you don't purchase food out. Once in a while, I also like to do things called no spend months, which is a lot more difficult, but it's really great for saving. And what I would do in this month is spend no extra money other than my bills required. Tip number 7 is clear your browsing history, because online companies actually follow your searches. How many times have you been searching something and then you go on Facebook or you go on Instagram and the picture is there of the product you are looking at? Another tip is when you are buying something online, if they have the option, check out as a guest as opposed to signing into an account or signing up as an account, because a lot of the times new customers usually get lower prices. This is a really great tip to do to try to avoid those situations. Tip number 8 is unsubscribe from promotional emails. I've actually unsubscribed to a ton of emails this past week because I just kept getting emails from brands that I've shopped at or brands where I've already bought purchases, and I get so many promotional emails saying 50% off, 20% off, free shipping. These just are really bad temptations to have. So I always like to unsubscribe because out of sight, out of mind. You don't want to get into a habit where you buy things that you don't need and you're just buying it because there's a good deal. Of course, if you need to buy an item, then it is good to look for those promotional deals. But in the meantime, if you don't need anything and you're not looking for something specifically, don't sign up for those emails. Tip number 9 is to eat at home more often. You could save so much money, thousands of dollars a year by eating in. Making sure you make your own food. Meal prepping your food for the week is really great so you don't have those temptations to go out and buy lunch, buy dinner, or Postmates, or use Uber Eats where you order in. If you eat out a certain amount of times a week, try to start off by cutting that in half and then try to really not eat out as often as possible. Tip number 10 is create an emergency fund. This is really important because a lot of the times things come out of nowhere where you have to spend a lot of money. So it's important to not only save money for yourself and to have that for your future, but to also save money for your emergency fund. So if anything like that happens where your car breaks down, you damage something, like if I broke my camera right now, I'd have to go and replace it. So I'd have to buy it right away. I wouldn't really have a choice for these things. So you want to make sure that you're also taking a little bit of money from your paychecks and putting it into the emergency fund. I would say save up to 3 to 6 months. And now I'm going to talk about when we actually are spending money, tips to still save money in that way. Tip number 11 is to think of money in terms of hours. So let's say that you're getting paid $10 an hour and you're buying something for $120. That means that it would take you 12 hours of work in order to buy that item from your pay. Is it really worth 12 hours of work for that item? I find when you get into that mindset, you're more likely to think, I don't think it's worth 12 hours of work, and you're less likely to make impulse purchases or to buy certain things that you don't necessarily need. It just puts things into perspective a lot better. Tip number 12 is to buy generic. Many name brand products carry the exact same ingredients to generic brands. So you're essentially just paying for the name and not necessarily just because it has something different to the product. So this is really great for things like household products and especially food. They always have tons of different name brand foods, but you can buy the cheaper version of the exact same food just by buying the generic store brand. And a lot of the times they taste exactly the same, and you could save so much money by just buying a generic brand. And that brings me to tip number 13, which is very similar and along that wavelength, and that is just to buy generic prescriptions. So prescriptions can really be expensive. A lot of the time prescriptions come in generic brands where it's literally the exact same thing. It's made the exact same way, but it just comes in a generic form. Of course, you want to check in with your doctor first, but once you have their approval, going for the generic brands is just going to save you a lot more money. Tip number 14 is ask and you shall receive. A lot of companies provide promotional deals in order to save money, but they're not going to proactively offer it to you unless you ask. So make sure that you're asking to try and see where you can save in certain aspects in your life. So whenever you work for a gas company or an internet provider or a credit card company, ask if you can lower the rates or the cost, and a lot of the times they will help you and find a deal so that you can lower your cost of those things. And it's just so much better to save as much money as you can in things that you're going to have to pay for regardless. Tip number 15 is to brew your own coffee. Coffee can add up for so many of us, coffees or even teas. You may think that it's cheap in the moment because buying your specialty coffee may only be $3 to $5, but if you're constantly doing this every single day or multiple times through the week, this can can add up monthly and yearly. Think about this, brewing your coffee at your house is going to cut the cost to 25 cents per cup as opposed to spending $3 to even $5 a cup of coffee. Tip number 16 is to stock up. And this is just great for products or things that don't expire and you're going to have to buy it anyways. Better to buy those things in bulk because you're going to save money in the long run. So this doesn't mean just buy something because it's on sale, because that could be a way that you're spending way too much money because you think since it's such a good deal, you should just buy it. I'm talking about those things that you're going to have to buy regardless. So I'm just talking about those products that you know that you use on the daily and that's gonna run out and you're going to have to go out and pick it up again. There are plenty of items where bulk buys can really pay off in the long run. Tip number 17 is to buy refurbished products. Many refurbished products, like computers for example, come with warranties, so it's just as good as buying the new one. They are so much cheaper to buy, but they're also safe to buy. And this can also go with so many things in life. I personally have a used car and I saved half the money that I would have if I bought my car in full, not used. You can also save money on clothing by going for the used route and going on places like eBay where you can buy pre-loved things for much cheaper. And if you can save money here and there, it's really gonna add up and you could put that extra money to your savings. Tip number 18 is try not to buy single disposable items. So this could be things like makeup remover wipes, cleaning wipes. Those run out really quick and you constantly have to buy them and pick them up. Tip number 19 is to build your credit. Whether you have currently a good credit, fair credit, or even bad credit, it's important to start working on it now. Not only is credit used to determine your rate of loans in the future when you are going to go buy that house, for example, but now utility and insurance companies have started looking at people's credit scores in order to determine your monthly premium. And even if your credit isn't the greatest right now, you can build your credit so that you can get into a good credit score. And the last and final way to save more money is to start a side hustle. I've talked about this before, which I'll link my videos up above and also in the description box. If you can live off of your income that you have now, then the side hustle money can just be extra money that you can put on the side to your savings and not touch. So if you have some sort of like skill or trade or something that you like doing, then it's also really great to kind of look into that option because it's just extra money on top of your income already, and that's always going to help it kind of kickstart your saving and make it a little bit more faster for you to save more money. You could do freelance photography, freelance videography. You could do things such as assistants if someone's looking for an assistant, or if you're good at graphic designs, you could provide people with your services. If you're good with making things and you want to sell it and have your own little store, you can do that as well. The possibilities are endless. You could do anything you want as long as you set your mind to it and you put the time and the effort in. Those are all the ways to save money, and I really think that if you start implementing even a few of these, you're going to notice money adding up. I hope this video was useful. Share it with your friends if it was. It always helps me out to get my videos out there, so thank you if you do. That means the world to me. But if you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button. I would love for you guys to be a part of my YouTube family. I upload every Thursday and Sundays, but I hope you guys are having an amazing day, evening, or night whenever you're watching this, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye!